Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Danny, and today Crate.com talks with Lupe Diaz, who is the Community Relations Coordinator for the Humane Society of El Paso, and also with Kim Lambert, who works as Animal Care Supervisor for the same organization. And if you haven't heard about them, they work to prevent suffering, abuse, and cruelty to animals and to raise public awareness of animal issues. Now, if you're new here to this podcast, remember to press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Hi, girls. Hi, Lupe. Hi, Kim. Welcome to our podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Our pleasure, really. I loved the work that you're doing. I got to say that I checked your website during my research, and I got this this feeling that, okay, if just by this first look at their website, if you don't get the sense that they are doing a wonderful job, I will change my name. It's really great. It's really sweet, and I'd like to learn more about both El Paso and how the organization began. I'm not going to guess. I'm going to let you tell me. How did it all begin, and how is El Paso look like?
What does El Paso look like?
Yeah.
We're kind of dry. We're a desert, but we have beautiful mountains. It is a beautiful city. So if you're ever in Texas, definitely come visit us. But our organization is actually 75 years old. It'll actually turn 75 November 21st of this year. We were founded in 1947, and we were the first shelter here in El Paso. So we were considered the dog pound, but we actually opened our doors because we started at the El Paso Public Library holding meetings because there was a rabies outbreak here in town. So our 75 original members wanted to help out the sick animals in our city, and of course, find the families of the ones that were lost. So we've been around for a very long time. And then in the 60s, when our neighbors, El Paso Animal Services, which is the city shelter here in El Paso, opened their doors, we focused on adoption and education and trying to help people be a better pet parent and take care of their animals a lot better than people do.
That's wonderful. And it is a long road, right? I think you got a chance to actually grow and learn more about how to do what you're doing. And that makes me curious also about the role that both of you have. So now let's move to Kim a little bit, and then Kim first. How would you describe the work that you specifically are doing there?
Like you said, I'm the animal care supervisor here. And basically I am in charge of the team that cares for the animals on a day-to-day basis. So we're out there, we're feeding, cleaning, picking up the poop, the less glorious parts of it. But as Lupe said, the Humane Society is focused as an adoption agency now. And so we open our doors and let people come in, meet with the animals, try and find a good match for them, encourage proper animal care, animal welfare, and basically just kind of play matchmaker. So we spend a lot of time, talking to people, finding out what they're really looking for, finding an animal that's really going to match with their lifestyle, somebody who's going to, fit in. It's no fair if you have somebody who's kind of a homebody, really, really quiet, really easygoing, and they end up getting a really high energy dog that needs to be out all the time. A lot of times those dogs end up back at the shelter. So we're trying to avoid that. We want to find good matches. We want to educate the public, teach them all about, house training the animals. A lot of people come in and they're like, I've never owned a cat before. Tell me all about them. So, we share that education with them. So we have a lot of really, really good stories. We also do, take in surrenders. So those people who are no longer able to care for their animal, or they do find themselves in a position where it's not a great match, we're willing to take in that animal and find that animal a new home. So that's mostly where I'm focused in on. Our facility also offers fostering programs. We also offer a TNR, so a trap, neuter, return program for feral cats in the community. So that's turned out to be a very, very large part of what we do. So that's the Mary Spear Cat Spay and Neuter Program. It's a very long title.
It is.
And then, we also, try and spread the word about, why it's so important to vaccinate your animals against distemper, parvo, why those rabies vaccines are so important, because that's where we, started, microchipping and kind of just all the basics that go into animal care.
Wow. I love it. Yeah. And I love how you keep mentioning education, right? I'm definitely going to go back there. I just want to hear from Lupe before moving on. What is your role there?
Well, let me start. No. I guess I'm a jack of all trades,
She does a lot.
but my official title is Community Relations Coordinator. So basically, I'm in charge of putting together our fundraising events. We have 3 signature events, which is our Canine Classic, which is our fun walk that we hold every spring. We have our telethon that's coming up. It's our BSR Save a Life telethon. That one's going to air August 6th on our local ABC affiliate, who's KVIA. And then we have our sit-down gala in the fall, which is Howl at the Moon. And then I do little events here and there that are fun in between. And I do our social media and I update our website. So that's my main focus, but I also run our offsite adoptions and our cat retail program. And then wherever else they need me, I just kind of go and stick my hand in. But I love what I do.
Yeah. And her job is really, really vital to what we do because the Humane Society of El Paso is completely nonprofit. So we have no grants from the government. We don't have any contracts with them. So everything that we do is by grants, fundraising, donations only. So her events are very, very important.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love your energy, like both your energies. I feel like it really shows that you're really engaged and love what you do. And thank you for sharing also, Lupe, because but I asked you about this because I feel like you bring us some of the 2 pillars of what I think it's what sustains organizations like this, that is community relations and community involvement and education, right? It's not just about taking animals in and then taking care of them and then let them out. You need to tell people how to do it, and you need to get the community involved so they know, okay, this is an important thing. We need to help out. We need to keep it going. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. And in this point, I'm really interested about the projects that you're running or some of the programs that you have. I saw that you have like student service projects and an enrichment program, which I'm also very interested on. Could you tell me a bit about both?
I guess I'll take the student project. So when the pandemic, or before the pandemic started, we had our volunteer program and we took in students that needed a certain amount of volunteer hours to go ahead and graduate. So when that pandemic hit and we shut down, of course, we couldn't have volunteers here. So at the time I was actually the volunteer coordinator. So I thought, well, how can we help these students, still get their hours because they were still going to school remotely and they still needed their hours. So we started a program where kids or students can do their volunteering from home and make us toys, which we always need toys. So even if they're store-bought or made by, extra cardboard you have at home, old t-shirts, whatever you had to make a toy, we would give you 15 minutes per toy. So that's how students were getting their hours. And now that the pandemic is not that it's gone away, but now that we have less COVID restrictions and we now have volunteers back at the shelter, we kept the program because really students and parents don't have that much time to get out here and volunteer. So we still want them to feel connected to our animals and be able to do those volunteer hours from home. So it was a way for us to help them do that.
Yeah. And it was perfect because when I started off, we didn't have a specific enrichment program, and enrichment for the animals is basically providing for their mental and physical well-being while they're here. Because, we could just throw them in a kennel, give them food and water, but that's not really caring for animals. Providing that enrichment just kind of makes their lives a little bit better, helps them handle the stress of the shelter, and generally makes them more adoptable. You have a dog who's getting plenty of exercise, they're not going to be pent up in a kennel. More people are going to want to adopt them. So enrichment for me was kind of like my bread and butter. That is exactly what I wanted to do. That was what brought me passionately to this project. And when I started, I didn't you could just spend money buying toys, and that's one thing, but being a nonprofit, it's kind of hard to get those funds. Yeah. So my goal was to create the cheapest enrichment program we could. And that involved a lot of recycling, using items like old t-shirts, cardboard, things that we were going to throw away anyway, and encouraging people to utilize those to make toys. I'll use old yogurt containers to make ice blocks for the animals. We, create these rope toys out of the T-shirts, just anything we can find. And so kind of pairing up with the community service project or the community student
service project.
Student service project. There we go. Pairing up with the student service project allowed people to do that too. And it kind of took step off my plate because instead of having to make all these toys by myself, I had the entire El Paso community backing me up on that. And so we ended up with a surplus of toys. The dogs are having a great time tearing these up. They're, relieving us so much stress just because they're allowed to be a little bit destructive in their kennel with something that's appropriate. So it was fantastic. It was great. And so that is something that that enrichment program has been developed. The entire staff helps out with that. Even folks who are up in the front, customer service, they're answering phones when they have a little bit of downtime. They help us out with those projects too. So it's just all encompassing for the shelter. That's amazing to hear. Go on.
Yeah. Her enrichment program was the one that actually, I guess, motivated me to start. She started the idea, but I took it to the
she got me the help I needed.
Yeah. So she was my muse, her idea of recycling stuff.
I love it. Yeah, well, as a dog owner, I know how much enrichment is like vital for the well-being, but how demanding it can be, especially when you have more than one dog. Mm-hmm. Toys just go away like this.
Yes,
it's insane. Yeah, so it's great to hear that you have so much help and that actually there's so many people fully getting involved and understanding how important that is. And now moving to another program that you mentioned, that is the Mary Spirit Cat Spay and Neuter program. How does that work? I'd like to have more clarity on that for our listeners. Maybe someone is interested in that.
Yes. So El Paso and a lot of places, feral cats get out there and cats are pretty prolific reproducers. So a couple of cats out there can end up, overwhelming the community very, very quickly. And the Mary Spirit Cat Spay and Neuter program is specifically geared towards spay and neutering of those animals. And so we have a small number of humane traps that we can lend out to community members. And they are able to trap animals that may, exist in their backyard, live around there. Some people care for these animals, leave out food for them. And so basically what we'll do is humanely trap them, schedule them to come in for surgery. Our vets spay and neuter the cats, give them vaccinations, and we actually kind of tip their ear just a little bit. So we actually cut off a small bit of their ear so that visually we can see that they've already been spayed or neutered and we don't have to trap them again. And once they've kind of, come back up from surgery, they're doing okay, we'll return them to where they were trapped originally and let them back out. Now, the reason why that's so important is that if we just remove the cats, it's very easy for more cats to move back in and, the cycle just continues. But if we, spay and neuter the cats, they're no longer able to reproduce and create all these unwanted kitties. But they're able to also kind of control the area. So they're still, working on getting rid of rodents and pests, but they're also kind of defending their area so that new cats don't come in. And so in the long run, we see that decrease in the amount of community cats that are out there, the amount of stray cats that don't have homes. So it's a really important project. And honestly, it is, I don't want to say popular, but it's very, very useful. Our program is actually booked out months in advance with people who are caring for these animals and trying to get them the vaccinations and care that they need.
Mm-hmm. We actually have surgeries going on today for Mary Spirit.
Yep.
And our manager, her name's Patty, she told me today that they had 46 cat schedules just for today and another 46 for tomorrow. So it's a lot of cats.
Definitely. Well, and the population is getting smaller. And still, right? Wow, that's insane. And now I'm just going to make a quick pause here to tell people to go to our website. You can find the link to and the address to the website on the description of this episode. But I'm going to tell you anyways, that is hselpaso.org.org. And you can have all of that information and how to get in touch. And you can see the dogs and cats that are up for adoption. They are just lovely. Oh my God. I could adopt all of them. Yeah. And the names. Oh, the names are the best. Yeah, I saw some of the names that I thought, okay, I should have named my dog better. But anyways.
Our intake coordinators do a really good job of coming up with unique names like all the time. They're also asking us for some names. So we've got some pretty funny ones out there too.
I love it. And it must be a wonderful job. Okay, what do you do for a living? Well, I get to name cats and dogs. That's wonderful. And there was one thing while I was browsing your website that caught my attention, that is the whistleblower policy. And I think like it sounds strange, but I also have the sense that it's like necessary if you want to keep helping out those animals, because they cannot ask for help themselves, right? They need to have someone coming forward and saying, hey, come on, you got to intervene here. How is that actually happening? Is people do reach out to ask you to help some cats and dogs or maybe other animals?
So we are primarily an adoption agency. Most of kind of animal cruelty cases will actually go through Animal Services, which is the city-run shelter. And we're literally next door to them. We actually share a driveway. So it's actually a really, really unique partnership that we have with them. And I think just in the last couple of years, I think maybe like in the last 5 years or so, we, El Paso set aside funds for an animal protection like officer department. So we actually, a task force specifically for animal welfare, animal cruelty cases to investigate those. And as great as El Paso is, animal cruelty does happen. It's going to happen everywhere. And like I said, I think it's, just a lack of education. People don't understand that these animals do need a certain level of care. And so we encourage people, if you see something, to contact Animal Services and to get those officers involved so that we can make sure that those animals are being cared for, and that people are being educated that, hey, tying up your dog outside in 100-degree weather is not humane. Like, you have to be able to adjust your lifestyle a little bit to care for these animals better. And so we encourage people, like, make those contacts, make those connections, give us a call. That way we can get you in touch with the right people, and make sure that, no animal is suffering needlessly. There's no reason for it. And so it's just kind of a big thing. Like, everybody here, we're all encouraging people. If you see something, just let somebody know so we can get you in touch with the authorities.
Yeah, we have to be the voice for the voiceless. So even though if people don't know who to reach out, they can still contact us, and we'll give them the proper phone numbers and who to reach out to. So we really encourage people to let us know or reach out to us so we can give them the proper information.
Oh, absolutely. And I voice your concerns here and raise this plea to people to really get in touch with you guys. And now I'm here wondering about the challenges that you might face to keep all this whole thing moving, because there are many animals with you and there are different projects going on. And what are the greatest challenges you're facing right now?
The one that comes to mind for me is fosters. We do have a neonatal foster department. And the only reason that keeps going is because of people volunteering to take these animals in temporarily and help us care for them until they're old enough to come back to get adopted. But sometimes we don't have foster homes, and we can't save those animals unless there's people willing to open up their doors and help us out. So there's sometimes like we partner up with Animal Services to pull animals from over there. About 60 to 70% of our animals are rescued from the city shelter. And sometimes they call us that they have litters of puppies or litters of kittens or a pregnant mom. But we can't bring them to our side until we have somebody that's willing to take them in temporarily. So every week it's we need fosters. So I think that would be one of our biggest challenges that I can think of.
I think another big challenge that we're facing right now, and this is not unique to us, I think it's shelters across the nation, adoption numbers are down. People are struggling financially just with everything that's happening, and bringing in a new animal is not at the top of their priority list. So now we're seeing animals who used to only maybe have a couple weeks long stay. They're staying for months, and the longer that they stay here, the more behavior issues that develop, the more they don't present well in a kennel. They're starting to bark and like pull at pull at the metal fencing, so little behavior things like that, that could have been prevented, with an early adoption, are now starting to develop into something bigger. And like I said, that's not unique to us. That's shelters everywhere. Getting volunteers, getting fosters, getting the animals out of the shelter is always really tough. El Paso in general does have an issue with spaying and neutering pets. So that's, kind of a message that we're continuously trying to push, is that we don't have animals in the shelter if you spay and neuter animals, and, they're not going to suffer if they're not there. So spaying and neuter is a big thing that we're always trying to push, and has always been a struggle.
Mm-hmm. It's really important for us to know that, and especially if it's a shared challenge for many organizations. It's just a fact. And in that sense, what are actually the ways that people can get involved to help you guys keep going?
Definitely, I mean, volunteering. I think that's one of the biggest ones, because like Kim said, enrichment is very important for these animals, getting them out to walk, getting them to play with somebody one-on-one, cuddle time. That's very important just to get them ready to go home, because some of these animals may come in and not have that connection with the human, don't know how to make that connection.
They're scared, they're shy.
So being able to spend that one-on-one time with our volunteers and get to know different ones, I really helps them. So volunteering is the biggest one, I think.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about volunteering too is it's not like we have tasks just set aside for volunteers and tasks just for staff. When people come in and volunteer, they're doing a lot of the same stuff. So I mean, they're just expanding our capacity for care, because, you know, I'm one person, I can only walk so many animals, but if I have somebody who's doing the exact same thing, now we've got 20 dogs out, and, you know, it just helps that much more. So the more people that we have here giving us a hand, just the more we're able to do. Like she said earlier, fostering is a huge thing, because we're able to pull more the cute little puppies. And let's be honest, everybody wants cute puppies. So they are the ones that get adopted pretty quick. But the more that we're able to pull over, I think it's important to note, you know, that we are also a no-kill shelter. So we do not euthanize animals for space. So that's, you know, why the struggle for, you know, the lack of adoptions is an issue, because, you know, these dogs are here and they're here until they get adopted. But having those fosters kind of helps, because now we're able to pull in more puppies. They have a home separate. So, you know, instead of taking up a kennel here, like we're able to take care of them at the person's home, and we're able to take care of some in our shelter. So it just kind of doubles what we're able to do. So volunteering time is a huge boon for us, for sure. And of course, you know, we're nonprofit, so you know, money talks, right? So financial donations definitely help a tremendous amount, because, you know, we've got to keep the lights on somehow, so bills got to get paid.
And they can visit our website to do that, or our telethon's coming up. You can always watch our telethon, but you can visit our website at hslpaso.org, how you said earlier, to make a in-kind donation, a monetary donation. And just for medical expenses alone a year, we usually exceed about $450,000 to provide them spay and neuter, vaccinations, and if we need medications, if they get kennel cough, if somebody's heartworm positive. So that is actually our biggest expense, is medical. So all the donations help us. We want to continue to be able to help these animals. I think the best thing about working here is we're not just an animal shelter. You know, the staff acts like a family. You have the dad, the mom, the crazy aunt. And when these animals come in, they become part of our family. You know, we get attached to them, especially because some of them are staying longer because our adoption numbers are down. So the
staff here is hugely passionate about the animals. Like we get connected, there have been many times like staff starts crying because somebody gets adopted, and it's like, yeah, we're sad, but we're also really happy. So we're very passionate about what we do. And, you know, it's not a very lucrative career, but we're all here because we love the animals, and we want to continue to share that love with everybody else. And we want people to care about them just as much as we do.
Oh, I could truly feel your passion in this interview, and I loved it. I love when they happen like this. And thank you so much for being here and for sharing this love with us. I hope our listeners get this feeling as well, and actually come out to help you guys, both either in person or just through donations. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. It's an honor.
Yes, it's a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, also, thank you so much, because you're here for one more episode with us. And if you enjoyed this episode, remember to press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because that shows the algorithms that this is an important conversation, and then more people can learn about the importance and the work that the Humane Society of El Paso is doing right now. Bye, and see you at the next episode.